Oh, goodness me. I love this interview. For those of you that don't have Twitter, I'm here for you. I'm bringing you the clips as fast as I can, as fast as I can. You're about to hear Trump say some wild things about Joe Biden. Okay? Some things that a lot of people don't say. And you know what? At this point, after what people have seen, from the time Biden got elected up until now, these things are very hard to argue, what Trump is saying here. Very hard to argue. Now, as always, he brings the things he says in such a comedic way. He's funny. He's legit funny. If he decided, hey, you know what, this isn't working out, I'll go do stand-up instead, he would sell out. He would completely be selling out. He'd be doing stadiums. It'd be wild. He'd be out selling Joe Rogan. No problem. Imagine a tour with Trump and Alex Jones. Oh my gosh. I'd pay $500 for a ticket. No problem. But it's very comedic, but also very true. So let's have this played. And at the same time, also sad, because the person he's talking about is the sitting president of the United States. You know, like it or not, believe it or not, that is the president. And the president is a reflection of the country, like it or not. You know, now he's a reflection of the country to other leaders and other governments. You know, but you watching now, you are actually a reflection of the country. It's just harder because you're not the reflection that's seen every day, and he is. And that's what sucks. But let's get into it. Let's hear what Trump has to say. Wild things he's saying. First, I got to bring you to the store, of course. It's IamCoachColin.com. We got the certified pure blood t-shirt for those of you that survived the pandemic unscathed. We got the Public Enemy #1 t-shirt for those of you who know about this gentleman. If not, Google Agenda 2030. Google the World Economic Forum. You'll understand why he's Public Enemy #1. And our newest design, try that in a small town. For those of you who have small town values and will not put up with people looting and stealing from your stores randomly because your law enforcement has had their hands tied, and every single time they put their hands on somebody, they're labeled as racist and offensive, and people want to defund them. For those of you that are down for some law and order, I'm still holding my pen. I've been taking notes. Let's just get right into it. Discount code, I am Coach Colin, all capital letters, all one word, one L in the name Colin gets you 10% off. And if you've done that already, thank you so much. Let's get into this clip.
Republican nominee, and all goes as you plan it to go. Do you have a preference in who you run against?
In many ways, I'd love to run against him because his record's so bad. You know, it's still horrible when you look at inflation and everything else, but others also have very bad records. I mean, California's a bad record, so, you know, should it be Gavin or should it be somebody else? When I look at San Francisco, what's happened to that incredible city? That was one of the greatest cities in the world just a short while ago, and now it's very sad when you look at it. Los Angeles, every city practically, all the Democrat-run cities. You know, Republican-run cities are doing very nicely because they arrest people when you have crimes. And they don't go after political candidates because they think it's good. You know, I mean, it's like been amazing. My poll numbers are the highest I've ever had. But because people understand it.
Can I just ask you, that
Yes.
gets back to my original question. So if the protest didn't work, you got elected anyway.
Yeah.
Impeachment didn't work twice, obviously. Indictment is not working. Your poll numbers go up. When they raided Mar-a-Lago in August of last year, your numbers went up. They can indict you 20 times, and you're not gonna lose the Republican primary because of that.
Well,
So,
it makes it look even more ridiculous. I mean, the 4 indictments, and maybe there'll be more. I don't know. These people are crazy.
But they're counterproductive. So if you chart it out, it's an escalation, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So what's next? After, try to put you in prison for the rest of your life, that's not working. So, like, don't they have to kill you now?
I think the people of our country don't get enough credit for how smart they are. And I'm not sure I would have said this 10 years ago, but they get it. They really get it. When somebody gets indicted, your poll numbers go down. When somebody gets indicted, you announce, ladies and gentlemen, I'll be leaving to spend time with my family and to fight for the rest of my life on this stuff. But you're out of politics. I got indicted 4 times. All trivia, nonsense, bullshit. It's all bullshit. It's horrible when you look and you look at what they're doing. The boxes hoax, I'm covered by the Presidential Records Act. I'm allowed to do exactly that. He's not covered, and he's got 25 times the number of boxes, and he's got them stored in Chinatown. He's got them stored in a flimsy garage underneath his Corvette at Penn. And by the way, at Penn, he gets millions of dollars. China pays this guy millions of dollars. See, I think he's the most corrupt president we've ever had, and he also has the distinction of being the most incompetent. And I believe both. I mean, he's both incompetent and corrupt.
So
and I actually believe he's compromised because China knows so much about him. They know where the money comes from. They know where it is, who paid it, and they probably paid it. Well, they do pay Penn, and he gets $1 million. I think he takes $999,000 because, keeps it a little bit under $1 million, like by $1. But he, in many ways, is a Manchurian candidate. We have a Manchurian candidate. And he's afraid to tell Russia to get out of Cuba. He's afraid to tell China to get out of Cuba. He's afraid. China now is building, think of this, China is building military installations in Cuba. The Cuban population of Miami is not too happy because they're never going to be able to go back. And you don't even hear about it. And the worst culprit is the press, the media, because normally, when I first heard that China is building installations in Cuba, and installations means military installations, okay, they said just some communication. They did that on the islands with Japan. They took the island, they started this massive construction, and they told everybody, including the Japanese have to be very careful. They told everybody that this is a housing development. They're going to build a housing development. And I said, how come the runway is 20,000 feet long? Private jets need 4,000 feet. They don't need 20,000 feet. The big ones need 20,000 feet. They don't even need 20. And I looked at the runway. I said, that's the largest runway ever built, both in width and length, for housing development. There's nobody that has a plane that big that you would have a runway that's
Why
that's
is
for
China
testing.
allowed to conduct imperialism in our hemisphere?
Well, yeah, and it's far beyond Cuba. It's all over South America.
Yeah, in the Caribbean.
So we built a thing called the Panama Canal. We lost 35,000 people to the mosquito, malaria.
Yeah.
We lost 35,000 people building. We lost 35,000 people because of the mosquito. Vicious. They had to build under nets. It was one of the true great wonders of the world. As he said, one of the 9 wonders of the world. No, it was one of the 7. It happened a little while ago, It says 9 wonders of the world. You could make 9 wonders. He would have been better off if he stuck with the 9 and just said, yeah, I think it's 9. But this is one of the true 7 wonders of the world. And you take a look at the Panama Canal. It was such an incredible engineering marvel. We sold it under Jimmy Carter. We sold it to Panama for $1. The following day, they quadrupled the amount of money that ships had to pay to get across. They didn't lose one ship. And now they've made it much bigger, and now they've widened it. They've doubled it, right? They've more than doubled it. And it's one of the most profitable things. Any time it's just incredible, right? We gave it away for $1. China now controls it. They actually control the Panama Canal. They run it, they control it. And we shouldn't let that happen. And we can't let China be in Cuba. And they'll get out. If I'm president, they'll get out. Because I had a very good relationship with President Xi, but he respected this country, he respected me. And he'll get out. And we can't let them run the Panama Canal. We built the Panama Canal. Should have never been given to Panama. We should have had it. But we gave it for $1. Think of it. They quadrupled. In one day, they lifted the fees, which are, pretty big.
Whew. A Manchurian candidate. That's where I want to focus. A Manchurian candidate. And I say this all the time about Biden. If someone told you, if someone presented a robot to you and it operated like Biden, you'd be like, big deal. Get that thing out of here. I don't need that thing. And they'd be like, it's 20 million. You'd be like, 20 million? You crazy? Are you crazy? I'll buy a bunch of microwaves instead. It'll do better. I'm just saying, he kind of does operate that way. It kind of does seem that way. And honestly, I've said it before. I made a whole video on it. You can go find it. The thumbnail says The Attack Within. It seems like if it's not him, because he's not exactly capable, for the most part. If it's not him, someone behind the scenes is working against the people's interests all throughout America. There's not one thing happening, being done by this administration that is working for the people, that is making the people's lives better. There's not one thing. If there is, it's very small. $700 for people in Maui who have lost lives and lost land and lost everything. There's nothing going on in terms of good by this administration. Just wanted to bring this up real quick. It looks like this is actually true. Let me, what am I, zoomed in here? Let me zoom, let's shrink this screen. Trump's actually telling the truth about this. China is building. They are building in Cuba. How crazy is that? Because that sounds like a conspiracy theory. China plans to build for Cuba, may go beyond spy base. What? There's another one here. Why is this zoomed in? I'm like zoomed in all over the place. Let's check this one out. China plans to build new military training facility in Cuba. Wall Street Journal reports. That's crazy. That's really happening. But you see what I mean when it comes to the things that Trump says? His delivery always makes people upset. It's one of those things where it's like, it's not what you said, it's how you said it. He just says it flat out, and you don't know if it's true. Look into a lot of stuff that he says. You'll see that it actually is true. Like, look into what he was talking about when it came to the files. He has files. Biden had more files. Biden actually did have more files. Biden actually took those documents, I believe, when he was vice president. He wasn't covered by the act. Trump actually was. Like, all these things, all these indictments that are going on right now, it's all going to come out that he's actually guilty of none of this. I've said this past 4 episodes. There's going to be no apology. No one's going to mention it in the mainstream media. They're all just going to move on to the next thing. And I know what the next thing is, and I'm sure you're hearing about it too. I'm sure you're being told to mask up too for your safety and whatnot and blah, blah, blah. They're already moving on to the next thing. This is going to fall short. All these indictments are going to fall short. None of them are going to work out. None of them. Oh, man. But Trump going off. The fact that he just called these indictments bullshit, I love that. I love it. He let that New Yorker come out of him. He's just like, well, what do you want me to say? And what else are you going to call some stuff like this? Man. And then Biden compromised. Obviously, no proof. No real proof. But you know what? I'm not going to say you don't need evidence. You do need evidence before you believe something like that is fact. But sometimes you got to look at someone's behavior. I've said this before. When somebody does something or when you're seeing something in the news, what does it lead to? Let's say he's not compromised. Well, the things that he's doing is leading to a place where someone who's compromised would do these type of things. And if he's not compromised financially, I don't know. But I definitely feel Trump on what he's saying in terms of this guy. It's a bad place to be in. Really bad place to be in. Is he the most corrupt ever? I don't know. I mean, I have no idea. But it's very corrupt. Maybe his corruption is out the most. Maybe he's not the most corrupt. Maybe his corruption is out the most. But it's very clear. And some of it even went into the fact that when he was vice president. But yet they're still focusing on Trump. I love that Trump got to have this talk with Tucker. I love it. 76 million, 76.7 million. I love that they got to have this talk because people need to hear Trump talk about this stuff and then actually look into it. Again, I'm going to be looking into it. I didn't pull those articles up for nothing. I'm going to look into what he's saying, because time after time, he says these things. He says it outright. He says it sarcastically, you know, and everybody a lot of people on the left brush it off as conspiracy, brush it off as nonsense. And then all of a sudden, he's right. It's happened so many times. So definitely, you hear something in one of these clips that doesn't sit right with you, that doesn't make sense to you, something that he said, go look into it. I'm telling you, go look into it. 9 times out of 10, you're going to see that he's actually telling the truth. One thing, this guy might be brash, he might be cocky, he might be a little irrational at times with his actions when he was president, but the one thing that you can see right now is that he's not a liar. He's not a liar. He's not a liar. He's a businessman. He takes what he wants. He gets what he wants. Things like that. But I haven't seen any lies. No outright lying at all. Anyways, guys, like the video if you haven't liked it already. Subscribe if you haven't subscribed already. Oh, man. I'm getting off this video right now. I'm going to listen to this. We're halfway through right now. There's another half coming, and I'm going to bring you all the clips. No need to download Twitter. No need to jump over to that site. I'm bringing you what you need. Thank me later. Actually, you know what? Thank me by clicking the like button. That's how you thank me. All right? Other than that, I'm out.